DIY or Die, Walker Vapor Group LLC, or any of its associates do not condone nor encourage the use of nicotine, vapor products, or any mood-altering substances without the explicit consent of a physician. The content viewable on this channel is strictly for entertainment purposes only and not meant to be seen as informational or educational. Must be 21 years or older to view these materials.
Silky beat. Hey, what is up, mixers? Happy Sunday to you all. Well, how's it going? Welcome back to another amazing episode of the MIXINVIXENS. My name is Emily, also known as Milne Icon. And let's say hello to other Vixens. Today we've got JJ, aka Flavor Pro. How you doing?
Good afternoon, Emily.
Hi. And we've got Rin Vapes.
Yo.
Yo, what up? How's everyone's day going?
It's going.
All right, it's going great. Awesome. Did you guys have a good weekend? Anybody do anything fun this weekend?
Went out for a pancake breakfast date with my hubby.
Ooh,
It was yummy. I had waffles though.
that's fun. I remember the town I grew up, we had like a Kiwanis, like a club for people. And they like every year do, like a pancake breakfast, and it was always like a big to do. And it was always fun.
Well, since we're in a tourist town, we have like pancakes and all that maple syrup stuff up here. So this is a local place. It's called Sugar and Spice. It's so good. Like, it's the best place to stop when you come up here. It's best breakfast.
Cool. Did you have a good weekend, Rin?
That's kind of neutral, not good or bad. Frustrated, my computer keeps overheating for some reason, so I'm trying to deal with that. But
Is it a desktop?
yeah, I don't know. Seems to be particular to like newer games. It'll just randomly shut off because it's overheating. But no one wants to hear about that.
No bueno. Mine overheats, but it's because I'm pretty sure that the case fan above the processor has just stopped working. So whenever I reset my computer, I always have to go into the BIOS and change some things up. But that's whatever. This isn't a computer show. This is a mixing show. Everybody ready for some freaking coffee cake, man? You guys see that picture on the corner? It looks so good.
As hell.
Did you guys have fun mixing this up?
I got pretty lucky, and my first version was almost perfect. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Mine is pretty good too, but like I really wanted the crunchy bits on top. Like that's the best part of a freaking coffee cake, and I don't think I got like that texture, but it's still pretty good.
I mixed one version like 4 weeks ago and I tested it today, so it came out good.
And the participation award goes to nice. It came out good though. You got a good steeping, and because sometimes with the bakeries they need some time to chillax. So all right. Well, as you guys may have noticed, Jennifer Winstead is traveling at the moment, so she's not with us. So it may be a little bit of a shorter show, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll still get plenty of content in, and we'll get around to all our recipes and whatnot.
We could spend 15 minutes picking her recipe apart.
She, like a fool that she is, she gave us her recipe to show. I'm like, all right, we're not holding back. We're going to tear it apart.
It's a punishment for not showing up.
That's right.
How dare you have a life and travel?
Right? So should we do hers first, or should we wait till last to do hers?
Maybe we wait for last so that we can drag it out a little bit more.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. But anyone volunteer?
I'll go first.
Okay, great.
As soon as James gets it up on the screen, because I don't have my screen open. So I went with, I of course don't have the picture on there because I didn't pull it off the computer. And I slapped it into, I'll put it in there later, and I'll actually put more of a description in there. But I used for the main base for the cinnamon roll, Flavor's cinnamon roll, and One-on-One's golden sponge cake, because cinnamon roll doesn't have enough cakey notes. So the golden sponge cake comes in and gives it more squishy cake kind of taste. And I used a little bit of WF croissant just to give it more of a buttery layer. Mm-hmm. And a little bit of FA meringue to sweeten and try to get a little bit of that crispiness in there, but it's kind of crispy. It's not a super crisp kind of sugar crunch like I was going for, but it's close enough. And then the capped cinnamon sugar just kind of adds into that sugar topping, and a tiny little bit of super sweet. And it tastes like what I would imagine biting into that cake would taste. So I would say it came out the way I expected. It's pretty yummy, although I can't vape it for any length of time because of the tap content.
Well,
I'm trying to go simple.
Like, I'm all about that Flavor cinnamon roll. It's really good. It's a good base that you chose there. I have just recently discovered the wonder that is Capella cinnamon sugar as well. But I've only used it, the few times I've used it has been like 2 or 3%. So I'm wondering, like, at that just 0.5%, what does it do to the mix? Like, can you taste that cinnamon sugar? No?
I just wanted a little extra, just because there is some cinnamon in Flavor's cinnamon roll, but it's not a lot. And with the added golden sponge cake and the croissant, I didn't want it to be too muted down on cinnamon. I wanted that cinnamon to stay there because you've got that nice layer of cinnamon, is what I saw in it, cinnamon swirl in the coffee cake. But I wanted to have enough cakey notes. So I'm trying to balance the cinnamon with the cakey notes. Mm-hmm. And it just 0.5% was enough to bump that cinnamon up. And it's a nice cinnamon. It's a bakery cinnamon. So I was hoping that might also add a little bit with the meringue to give it a little bit more crunch. It doesn't have a lot of crunch to it for a cinnamon, but it's got a little bit of a dryness.
Yeah.
So the dryness kind of gives it a little bit of a crunchy topping feeling.
Almost like a coating, like if you put cinnamon sugar on toast, you get that grittiness a little bit.
Yeah.
I really like that you use One-on-One golden sponge cake. I don't see that very much. And to me, like, that's a really decent, like, Flavor West yellow cake sub for anybody out there who's still interested in that. It's a really nice, like, kind of rich cake, and I can see it giving more of that texture that you're looking for a coffee cake as opposed to a cinnamon roll.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping. Anyway, One-on-One does have a yellow cake that I use as substitute for Flavor West because it doesn't have the sugar in it, but I didn't want yellow cake taste to this. So the golden sponge cake works better because it's not quite yellow cake. It's more like a butter cake, and it's a little squishier. It's not quite as dry cakey, kind of like Capella's yellow cake is dry. This one isn't dry. It's more buttery and moist. And then that little bit of extra butter from the croissant kind of just adds to the overall buttery, soft, cinnamon cake.
I was just thinking, I bet that little bit of Wonder Flavors croissant is just enough to kind of butter it up some. That looks really good. That looks like
it's yummy. I wish I could vape it, but I can't.
Yeah, it's such a good flavor. Awesome.
Hopefully somebody else can enjoy it.
Thanks for sharing. That looks really good. I think it looks really good. I'll go next. So mine's pretty kind of along the same lines as JJ, but just with different flavors. So as you guys know, like I'm a Flavor West caramel cinnamon roll like diehard fan. Any chance I get to use that flavor, I will. So that was kind of like my base kind of main note that I wanted to get across, and then it needs help. So for to help it in the cinnamon department, I use Capella's cinnamon sugar. I just recently got this flavor in actually, and was testing it this week, and thought this is like really good. I really like. It's still kind of a bakery cinnamon, but I really like the kind of little bit of grit and a little bit of kind of extra cinnamon that it adds. So I put that in at 2.5%. And then I wanted some brown sugar, like I wanted some, because that the layer in the coffee cake, it's a little bit darker. It's a little bit, it's not just cinnamon, right? It's got some brown sugar into it. So I did 0.5% Flavor caramel, because to me, Flavor caramel is just the best brown sugar I've tried. I haven't tried Inaware or 101 or anything, but Flavor caramel is really good brown sugar. So that's what I use for that. And then to turn the cinnamon roll into a cake, I actually used 5% 101 cornbread. Now you guys might see cornbread and think, what the heck? But the corn in this, it's not very strong. And so it, like the cinnamon, covers it up really easily. And you're just left with like a really nice kind of rich, dense, sweet cake base. And then I threw in some Wonder Flavors vanilla cream extra. No other reason than just I wanted a little bit of vanilla in there. When a lot of times you bake something, you put in vanilla, whether it's the main note or not, you put in a little bit of vanilla, and it's right now that's kind of my favorite vanilla flavoring as of lately. So I just wanted to throw in a little bit of that, and it turned out really good. I really like this mix. I'm not like a huge cinnamon fan. I don't vape a lot of cinnamon things very often, but this is a nice little change of pace for me, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, the cornbread's a good idea because that one has that bready note, but it's a little bit drier. So adding in with the caramel that you're getting the gooiness, and that Flavor West caramel cinnamon roll is just super gooey. So you're kind of drying that out a little bit and making it more the actual cake.
Yeah, it's a really authentic flavor as far as cornbread goes. Cornbread's, it's drier, it's grainy.
It just doesn't have that much corn in it for an actual flavoring.
In the corn here, like it just provides a sweetness, that is welcome in this mix. So I think it turned out really good.
It's definitely an interesting use of cornbread. Somebody needs to try this and leave a review.
Yeah, for sure. Please do.
We all went pretty simple with our flavor numbers, didn't we?
Yeah. I'm not here to muck it all up with her.
We'll have to see how verified her recipe is at the end here.
Yeah.
It's like all of ours combined.
Probably. I think she did okay as far as Jennifer's concerned.
So do you think if you added a little bit of the meringue, you might get a little more of a crunchy top with your cinnamon sugar that you did in there?
I'm thinking so. Like, I didn't even think about using meringue. And then when I saw it in your mix, I'm like, I bet that would combine with the Capella cinnamon sugar and make like a little bit more kind of crispy, crunchy top. That to me is like the best.
I was kind of thinking when I tested mine earlier, is like maybe if I had put 0.5% in, it might have crisped it up a little bit more. So I think maybe with your percentages, 0.5% might work to just add a little bit of crunch to it.
Yeah.
Or pastry zest. You can always throw pastry zest in anything.
Yeah. I don't know how that little bit of lemon would act with this.
Little brightness to it.
Yeah.
I had pastry zest in one of my versions, and I don't know if it was that or something else, but something wasn't right. I removed it. because I love putting that in anything bakery, because I'm not a big bakery vapor as it is, but I like that flavor a lot. I think, it might have been the angel cake, kind of like foreshadowing, I guess, little teaser.
Oh.
But yeah, I don't know.
It just didn't mesh.
But I don't know if I just don't like angel cake, the Wonder flavors. I don't know if I just don't like that flavor. I kind of ran out of time because my package got lost and I couldn't find my white cake, and then they found it, but they didn't find it until like Thursday.
Yeah, that's not enough time.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know about you guys, but I'm thinking like pastry zest lends itself better to like pies and like denser, things. And like I think cakes, it just, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll have to mess around with it in like something bright, like a.
It probably works well with Wonder Flavors croissant if you're going for something that's got that crispy outside and the buttery layers.
Yeah.
So if it was more of a croissant with a cinnamon stuffed inside.
Yeah. We'll have to play around with that. It's a good idea. All right, Ren.
Your turn.
Your turn. Speaking of angel cake.
So I used angel cake for Wonder Flavors as one of like the base cakes. It was firstly just by itself, but on top of everything else, it wasn't cakey enough. So then I added an equal part, both 0.75, the angel cake, and then I added Flavor West white cake. The white cake is really nice. It's one of the few cakes that I have that are white specifically. Similar to Jen, I didn't want to use like a yellow cake. Not that it would have been bad. I just don't think it would have been authentic at all. So that's why I used those two. The angel cake mostly for like the more moist part of it, like the more dense, and then the white cake to kind of make it a little bit more cakey, because like I said, it just wasn't cakey enough by itself. And then I think we all use the Capella cinnamon sugar because it's just a really good flavor. Like the cinnamon is nice and not harsh the way that like a lot of other cinnamons, and it's not overpowering. It's just really nice to work with. And then I used something a little weird. I was actually talking to Jen about this. I'm like, is there anything that's like a brown sugar that's not brown sugar? Because I only have like one, and I think it's TFA's, and I don't like it. And she recommended the Dulce de Leche from Delosi. That actually worked really well. Because if you have like a coffee cake, at least the kind that I like, kind of has like this middle layer of like the gooiness, because it's like kind of dry at the top, and then it's like a little gooey, and then you have your cake, and it gave that nice little gooiness in there. So I think it ended up working really well. I did go pretty low with it per norm, at 0.25%. I didn't want it to be too much because I don't have any experience with that flavor or really dulce de leche in general. So I just wanted to kind of use it very lightly. I added Smooth Vanilla by Favora because it pairs, I heard, really nicely with angel cake. Plus, it's just a really good flavor that I've been putting in everything lately. Very low percentage, 0.05. It is that strong of a flavor. And then I added a little bit of Capella sugar cookie to kind of add to the top layer, just the tiniest little bit. And
buttery fluffiness.
Yeah, because like to me, like the Capella sugar cookie is like the almost underdone kind of sugar cookie, which I prefer. I don't like hard cookies. It's just not my thing. But I did want to keep it low because it does tend to get too gooey, and I didn't want to turn the cake into like a straight up cookie. Don't think it would have been bad, but it's just not what I wanted to do. So I just kept it very low.
Nice. Yeah, I'm really surprised at like how low everything. I guess I'm not surprised, but everything is so low. But that Flavor West white cake, I've only used it a couple times, and I really enjoy it because there aren't very many like white cake, flavors out there, and that's a pretty decent one. And I bet it pairs beautifully with that angel cake.
Yeah, I really wanted to use the fluffy white cake, but it has that inherent frosting note that wouldn't really work. So, I mean, that is a good white cake flavor, but it does have that frosting, and you can't remove it.
Yeah, I can see that getting in the way. And I've never tried smooth vanilla down that low, and I think, I'm not ready to just give up on it yet. So I think I will try something with it down low, really, really low like that. And maybe I'll see what everyone's been talking about, how they love smooth vanilla.
Like you can do like 1 drop per 30 mil and you'll taste it. Like it's that strong. And I could definitely see if you use it too high, it being nasty.
Yeah, I made that mistake.
I just don't like it. I think it's because I used it too high at first. And so now every time I taste that in a mix, I'm like, oh, I have like PTSD from smooth vanilla.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely try this. And
I've been really liking it. Like I've been putting it, like I said, in everything. It goes well with tobacco. It goes well with bakery. There's not much I haven't put in it where it's bad. It's just you do have to use it very, very low.
Yeah.
I think that Dolce amount was probably just right for what you're going for, because when you push it higher, it really goes caramel. At like 1% and above, it's a lot darker of a caramel, but lower amounts, it's more like a brown sugar. It's a good flavor. It's one that I use, and it's actually not dappy.
Yeah, in here it worked really well. I don't know what other use I'd use it for. Maybe in ice cream it would go good. I don't know.
Yeah, ice creams, or I mean, you could even put it in a tobacco. Pies, just as like a caramel kind of note or a brown sugar note. If you're just trying to replace brown sugar, that's pretty much what it'll do. One-on-one's brown sugar too is also another one that you can use for brown sugar notes.
That's what I've heard. That one's pretty good. Yeah, I have to give it a go.
It's definitely better than TFA's either regular brown sugar or the DX one, because I have both of those, and there's something funny in them.
Yeah, like it's almost too bright for its own good. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's okay in a pinch. Like it's what I use that for brown sugar for the longest time, and it works. But it's just not, not what you're looking for in something like this.
Yeah, the TFA is the one I have, and I don't like it. I've never liked it. It's just I needed to have a brown sugar, and I think it was like the only one available or something. So I'm like, okay, I'll just get it. And then I never use it because I don't like it.
The chat's been talking about rich cinnamon, and I have to tell you, like, I really thought that every mix would have rich cinnamon in it because it is such a really good bakery cinnamon, and it just belongs in all things cinnamon, but none of us used it.
I love rich cinnamon, but it's just so easy to overdo it. Yeah. And honestly, like the capped cinnamon sugar, it's my go-to for a bakery. Like the rich cinnamon is something I would use in something else, especially if it's a crumble. Like it's really good for like a crumble or in a pie crust. So yeah, it's my go-to for things like that. Like it's a drier cinnamon, and it does have that little bit of sweetness, but it's not overly sweet because I don't use sweetener really almost never. So it gives that light amount of sweetness that isn't too much. It's very easy to work with, in my opinion. I really like that flavor a lot.
When you use Capella cinnamon sugar, because I noticed that you use it quite a bit. In fact, it's in your rinse shell. Do you normally keep it down low like that, or have there been instances where you'll crank it to like 2-3%?
No. No, it's usually at about 0.5%. I think the highest I've gone is maybe 0.75, because I don't like vaping cinnamon that much. I love it in real life, but vaping it, it's just not something that I like. So if I'm going to have it in something, I want it to be more of an accent or something that's melded into something else.
Yeah.
Than being like super overpowering. Obviously for my recipe, especially this one in particular, most people are going to have to increase it to some degree. I think most people know that by now. A lot of my recipes are going to have to be bumped up for
maybe mix it 3.5% total instead of 2.5.
Yeah, like you could even probably, like I said, double it most times. But I vape low wattage, and I'm also sensitive, so that's why I do it this way. If I were to do it the way that everyone else mixes, the percentage wise, I wouldn't like it.
But seeing you and JJ use Capella's cinnamon sugar that's low, even though you guys both are more sensitive, it makes me maybe think that I need to rethink how strong I put it in things. And maybe, because I never, when I did my different versions, I was just trying different like cake bases. I do batch mixing, right? I'll pick one, I'll kind of do a mix I think will be good, and then I'll just change one note in several versions. But it makes me think that maybe I should have tried the cinnamon sugar down lower.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good. So I mean, I'm not. It's not like overpowering on the cinnamon or anything. But I'm just wondering if I just wasted it and just used it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that Fresh talks about is like I got him to lower his percentages a bit.
Yeah.
And you also have to remember I've been mixing for a long time, so a lot of things have changed and equipment's changed. I started vaping in like the very low wattage, low voltage range, and I think I just never enjoyed it any other way because that's how I started. Like I've tried cranking up wattage and everything. It tastes like air. It tastes like hot air to me. Like I don't get anything from it. So it's like, why am I going to vape this way if it's not something I like?
Right. And after so many years, you kind of refine your palate and you get to where a level that you like, and why mix differently,
Yeah. I think people get caught up in like, oh, well, this is how you're supposed to do this. And no, just do what works for you. As long as you're being safe and not doing something stupid, like just vape how you can vape, however that may be.
Exactly. All right. So I just saw Jennifer Winstead in the chat. So she's watching us, but let's go ahead and do it anyway. Let's show Jennifer's recipe. She just called it coffee cake, and she went in a different direction than we did. So this will be really fun. So she did a 1% flavor art chocolate glazed donut, 1.25% Flavora cupcake batter, 0.75% pastry zest, 0.15% starch base, 1.5% FA up, 2% Capella vanilla cupcake, and 2.5% TFA vanilla cupcake. So this is completely different than what we did, which is really neat to see. She went, I'll read her description here. She said, for this recipe, I attempted to make a cocoa and coffee infused cake. I used my signature combo of Capella and TFA vanilla cupcake. I combined Flavora pastry zest, cake batter dip, and starch base to enhance the body of the cake by bringing in sweetness and moisture from the cake batter dip, bumping up the bread notes of the cake without adding a crisp, keeping everything moist, and pinching the entire recipe with a touch of pastry zest. Coffee and chocolate can be hard to work with and always benefit from a good steep. I combined FA Up and FA Chocolate Glazed Donut because they both have different bakery notes that work well together, and they fix each other's flaws when combined. Both of these flavors are strong enough to punch through the cupcake, but at these percentages, they don't overpower and they fold right into the profile. If you mix this, let it steep a minimum of 10 days for everything to calm down and fold into one cohesive flavor.
Yeah, that donut like completely threw me off.
Right? I saw that. I'm like, what?
Well, the donut's going to add more cake to it as well, but it's also going to give that chocolate note. And the chocolate note is good in that glazed donut. So I see why she used it.
Yeah, I didn't even think about going in like a chocolate direction. Like, that's really interesting.
I forget about that flavor, honestly. I'm not sure where my flavor is, actually. It's somewhere over here in the mess.
Really good. Like, I think I like it a lot better than Capella's chocolate glazed donut for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't tried it yet. I have it. I just haven't tried it.
It's a like unassuming chocolate. You know what I mean? Like it's not overbearing. Like it's just a nice kind of mellow. Like yes, this is chocolate. Like yeah, this. You know, which a lot of chocolate flavors can just be like bullies and push everything around. But I think it's really good. And then I've never ever used FA up at 1.5%. That to me, I saw that and I'm like, wow, like that's a lot of coffee.
It's not super strong though after it steeps out.
Yeah.
It's got more creamy notes to it because it's one of the blended ones. So it's got the creamy notes and a bit of vanilla and the coffee. So it's kind of like if you took their cappuccino and mixed it with vanilla classic and a little bit of fresh cream and and let it steep for a good month. And it's a lot smoother than the cappuccino alone. So it's actually not bad up to like 3%. I've used it in stuff as long as you've got other stuff in there that's going to tone it down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that looks good.
And her cake base, the 2 cupcakes with the pastry zest, the little bit of starch base, and the cupcake batter. That's like really super interesting. Like the starch base, of course, I haven't played with it that much. I've never played with it that low, but like it does give a nice kind of good body to things. Like it's just kind of a yeasty body to me flavor. And then having the cupcake batter be a little bit of that kind of doughy, moist. She said she wanted to keep things moist. So that's really it's really interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it would be bad. It's just it kind of threw me off. Yeah. So I think of coffee cake, when I think classic, which obviously you look at a picture, it can be whatever. It's just like I was like, chocolate glazed donut, like you're crazy.
Yeah.
And I haven't used starch base in anything yet. I've just mixed it by itself. So I'm kind of curious to see how that would be in a bakery. Because I get straight up oyster cracker from it when I vape it by itself. Really? Yeah.
That's weird. I get almost like a cross between like a donut and white bread. Like it's just a starchy, yeasty, kind of note to me.
What percentage should you do it at?
I'm thinking like 1. I went like 1.
That might be why. I think half.
Oh, it could be. Yeah, it could be one of those flavors. Yeah, you get different things based on how high you mix it. So, and she used pastry zest in hers, which I bet with the coffee and the chocolate, kind of giving that a little bit of brightness would be really good in it.
Well, she also didn't go the cinnamon route. And I think the cinnamon might clash with the pastry zest in certain things. Like I said, I don't know what clashed in mine, and I don't even know if it's that because of that flavor. It's just something wasn't working. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't need you, so I'm just going to pull you. Yeah. It was just kind of like one of those things. It's like, oh, I like pastry zest in most bakery stuff, so I'm just going to throw it in there. And then when it didn't work, I'm like, okay, well, we're just going to take you back. You just go back on the shelf a little bit.
You just sit there and think about what you did. So I have a question for you. So when you mix, and this is for both for you and JJ, when you guys mix, do you like mix something and then start pulling stuff out, or do you try to mix something like a minimum and then slowly add things in? Like what kind of, what's your process like there?
For me, especially for the show, I'll try to at least have 2 versions, because like I theory craft way in advance, but then I don't mix it for forever, so I don't know if it's good or bad. Yeah. But I usually have at least two different versions of different flavors depending on the pitcher, and then whichever one is better out of those at that point, then I start tweaking it however way. I mean, it's kind of hard, especially like lately, how I've been just throwing flavors that I haven't single flavor testing in just to see how it does. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, it can give you a lot of unexpected surprises too, that you may not necessarily get single flavor testing it by itself. Plus, I'm just at the point, I don't have time to single flavor test everything I have. Like, I just don't.
I need to get back into just like throwing things at a wall to see what sticks. Because for so long, I've single flavor tested everything and then used it. Where it's been cinnamon, the cinnamon sugar actually is the first time that I just threw something in just because I've never tried it before, just to try it. And it's a fun process, a fun way of learning, what your flavors do. Because a lot of times they'll taste one way in a single flavor, but then they'll react completely different in a mix. And so sometimes you just need to throw something now in a mix to see what happens. Now I suggest when you do that, limit it to just one new flavor or one or two new flavors, because then the whole thing of something, you'll confuse yourself and you won't know what's going wrong with your mix.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say that. You have too many variables in there. It's like, okay, well, I don't know which one I don't like. I just don't like something.
Yeah. How about you, JJ? What do you do?
I tend to just go by whatever the picture is and sniff stuff until I feel like it's going to work together, and then I throw it all into a bottle.
That's right. You're a sniffer and thrower.
Pretty much. I mean, I've got many weeks in advance done, and I was supposed to test this last week so I could, just in case it wasn't very good, I needed to mix another one up, but I forgot.
Have you ever had it where you mix something that you think is banging, so then you don't even bother testing it, and then you test it the day before and it sucks?
Yeah, I've done that multiple times.
That's so frustrating.
It's like,
Then you're slapping something together the day of the show, and you're like, come on, it needs to work, and it's going to be shake and vape.
Well, and I'm like completely the opposite too, where like I'm so disappointed, and like when stuff doesn't work out for me, I just get bummed. I'll be so disappointed that none of my mixes turned out. I'm like, all right, well, which one of these garbage heaps am I gonna submit this week? And then like I go back and I taste them, I'm like, oh, wow, like they've completely changed, and now they're, what I wanted to come out has come out, or they work. So that's why you have to, test your mixes throughout the steeping process to see what.
I think this month is going to be a good month for me personally. I like the profiles that are there.
Yeah, they're looking really interesting. So speaking of that, maybe James can show up next week's. It's like a sorbet or a sherbet, which is completely out of my wheelhouse. So I'm super excited to just play around with flavors that I don't normally mess with. So this will be really fun. It's light, refreshing. It's getting springtime in a lot of places, so the weather's getting nice. So I think this will be super fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the show, folks. I'd like to let's thank our sponsors and let everyone get out of here. We've got Bowl City Flavors. Thank you so much, E-cig Express. Thank you, Flavora and Scott, for all the flavors. And thanks to Wayne for putting us on his network. So if you don't want to watch the video, you can always kind of check out iTunes or the other podcast type thing.
Yeah, check out DIY or Die. He has a lot of content.
Yeah, for sure.
And a website.
DIYordivevaping.com. For those of you who don't know already. So.
Yeah, because we call him Wayne, but it's like some people might be like, who?
True.
And if you're mixing, you probably shouldn't say who, but just in case. Little plug, DIY or Die. Go check him out.
Yeah, and it's right there in the corner, so you can't forget. All right, guys. Well, this was a lot of fun, and we'll see you back next week for the sherbet concoction we come up with.
Bye.